everybody. Hey, Black Guy 9. What's up? Thanks for being here. What is going on? Let me turn this down. I don't know if you guys saw last time. The music was playing the entire time. I mean, it was like on the low, but it was still playing. And I did not mean for it to be playing. How is everybody? What's going on? What's up? Welcome to the Keisha King Show. I'm your host, Keisha King Benton. And welcome. I hope you are having a fantastic day. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Hi, Katie. How are you? Please hit that link. Share this video out. Please hit the like button and share this video out. Put some gold hearts in the chat for your girl. Let me get on over there so I can participate. Yes, I hope you guys had a great day. It's warming up here in Florida, that's for sure. It's getting warm, and when it gets warm, people start acting a fool. But let's see. Oh man, the more I dig into the Black church and just the history, it really, it just gets more and more sinister. Really, truly. It really does get more and more sinister. It's a dangerous thing when you are uninformed. You know how the Bible tells us that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And the more that I look at this stuff, the more that I see what has happened with the Marxist infiltration to the Black church, or the beginning stages of what is now the Black church. It was truly diabolical. It truly was, and it's still going on. We still have people today who refuse. They are holding on, they are clinging on to the oppression. White people are bad, Black people are good. This narrative that it just is not, it's just not a way to be. It is truly not a way to be. You the more sophisticated that the Marxists become, the more the harder it is to understand the deception that is before you. It can really seem like right. It can really sound like what these people are saying is correct. We have to make sure that we all stay close to the Lord, that we are all reading our Bibles and doing what we need to do, so that we are not taken in by these vain philosophies and doctrines of men and doctrines of demons and all of that stuff. We want to make sure we're not doing that, because when you don't pay attention to things like that, you can be taken advantage of. Hey, Carmen. Hello. What's going on? Good to see you. Hi, Karen. What's up? How are you guys? Hope you guys had a fantastic day. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm talking about what I'm learning as we talk more about the Black church. And, I've been talking about the problems with the Black church, and you guys have all heard my testimony. And so you think you kind of know, like you think you kind of get the gist of it, but I'm just like, this is the gift that just won't quit. It's just the gift that keep on. It's not a gift. it's like the disease that keeps on giving. It's the apostate, the apostate church that just won't quit. So as I'm thinking through these things and talking with my good friend Chuck, and leaning on his wisdom, and Chado Jackson, and all of them, and I just, it becomes, you get to a point where it's like you you start to, how am I don't, I understand how one can be deceived by all of these things coming at you, but on the other hand, it's like you still have to be responsible for your lot in life. You still have to be responsible for making sure, is this thing that I'm leaning into, is this thing that I'm believing, is it really what it says it is? If I'm going to devote my time, I'm going to go down and march, and I'm going to, be demanding, I'm coming to get my check, as Martin Luther King said, when we are devoting our time, and we are meditating on these things, and our minds are focused on um some of the stuff that is being presented to us, we really have to make sure that what we are taking in is really God's um theology. We really do, because the deception is getting better and better all the time. Like, the deception is getting top tier. I'm starting to read some of the more current scholars, the scholars, the people who are commenting on, social justice and the black church and all of these things. And they really want to be oppressed. I mean, you when you read, like we've been reading JP Foster, and it's like, this is how I was thinking about it. They talk a lot about the past, and what, how slavery was, and what America is, and we have to remember that history, um we're still suffering from the vestiges of slavery today. That's what that, like, that is a common theme. Like, no matter what, you can never get away from slavery, you can never move forward. You always have to remember the struggle. That's a common phrase in their books and articles and teachings and things like that. And so I was thinking about this, and I'm like, well, now, if I um if I were to teach my children, hello, Brother Lee, you can click that link in the oh, did I put the link in there? Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. Let's see. Well, it would help if I put the link in there. Um, mm-mm-mm. One second. There we go. So go ahead, click the link if you disagree. As always, you don't have to show your face. You can hey TJ on TikTok. You don't have to show your face, but you have to, come up by voice, and let's talk it out. Let's see what you got. Hey Mario, hello. That is correct. Apostasy is rebellion against God. That is correct. That's what the um that's what the black church is doing. That's what the black church has done. That's what the black church is doing, and that's what it has done. So give me 1 second. If I give you the scripture, are you going to come up and hash this out so you're not trying to battle in the comments? Um, I was thinking about it like this: if your child had never experienced a trauma, a let's I'm saying something equal on the level equal of slavery. Okay. American chattel slavery. Let's say your child has never experienced for themselves that level of trauma. Let me ask you a question. Would you raise your child as if they had experienced a trauma on the same level as slavery? If your child had never experienced a grape, a essay, would you raise them as if they had? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You would not raise them as though they had to live with and deal with and fight against a trauma that they never experienced. You would never do that. So, but that's what they want you to do. If you are black, if you are a highly melanated person, what they call black, and you want to live your life as though you have not gone through slavery, you will be fought against. You cannot, these people do not want you to live your life as if you are actually free, especially if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, they more so demand that you live your life under this oppression ideology, and then say the way that you actually show that you're not really oppressed is if you go and do social justice in their kind of way. If you say like I believe in justice, I believe in biblical justice, I believe, that I am actually going to care for like my literal neighbor, not like your neighbor as if like we're talking about all of America, because that's what they mean. When they're like, "Oh, you need to see Jesus said love your neighbor." So therefore we got to go to the government so you can love your neighbor. Now tell me how that works. How does it work where I got to go fight to tear down the system to love my neighbor? My neighbor's right there. I don't need the government to show to be the mechanism in which I love my neighbor. In fact, I would argue that Jesus would tell Christians that's not loving your neighbor. You're not even talking to your neighbor. You're talking to the government. How is talking to the government and fighting the government and rioting and protesting? How is that loving your neighbor? How is it? I would argue that it's not loving your neighbor. But constantly, that's the action that Christians are supposed to do. That's the evidence for these social gospel warriors that you are really a believer. The evidence is not the fruit of your life in how taking care of your own family first, making sure your own family is intact before you go out and try to change a whole nation. You might want to make sure your own family is intact, because if you can't manage that, well, how are you even going to tear down? How are you going to properly do that? I'm just saying. Hey, Megan, how are you? Hey, DT. Listen, brethren, come on up, click that link. Let's see if you have some fortitude today. I'm not so sure, but I don't know. We'll see. You said, what's the scripture? What is the scripture that the black church is an apostate? What is the scripture? Okay, well, we're gonna see. We're gonna read. We're gonna read some scripture. We're gonna see. We gonna see. All right, we gonna see. All right. So Colossians 8. Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy, theories, critical race theory, critical theory, legal theory, all of the theories, evolution theory. Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit. They promising you it's just empty lies. According to the tradition of men. Now, what? Now, the tradition of men. We hear all the time, and brethren, if you're going to be honest, you would understand that this is a good scripture for the quote unquote black church to take heed. Tradition of according to the tradition of men. Tradition of men. Oh, the Negro spiritual songs that they sang. Oh, that showed their faithfulness. Never mind that these Negro spirituals that they changed the words to mimic gospel hymns, but they changed the words for freedom songs. So they changed the lyrics, gospel lyrics, and turned them into freedom songs. You remember when Lecrae was like, I think I can quote Cardi B and Corinthians. What's wrong with that? This is like that. When you take a gospel song and then you want to mix it up and intertwine and mix it with all this other stuff and change the words for it to mean something else. Yeah, they was doing that in the civil rights movement. They did that. This is what they did. So all of these traditions of men, the hooping and the hollering, that's what really shows that you got the spirit. You know, the way that the cadence in which they preached, all of these traditions of men. Okay. But they really don't amount to anything at the end of the day. It doesn't amount to your soul being saved if you don't have the gospel. It's just empty deceit. It's just vain philosophy. It's a tradition of men. You're acting according to the basic principles of the world and not according to Christ. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. So he is the example. That is the example. And see, this is where you get caught up in rhetoric, in a narrative. Freedom is always the goal. We just want our freedom. We're just fighting for freedom. We just want to be liberated, right? We just want to be liberated. All we want is freedom. But the freedom that God is talking about is freedom of your soul. When you don't have Christ, that is bondage. You are a slave to sin. You see how when the Bible is talking about slavery, it's talking about being a slave to sin and freedom from that, because that is eternal oppression. The Bible says on this side of heaven, these are light afflictions, okay? Light. These are light afflictions. God tells us what to do with our afflictions while we're here on earth. Cast our cares upon him because he cares for us. hmm I know, but it's like that's just too easy. That's too easy. I gotta add something to the gospel. I gotta add something to Jesus, because he casting your cares upon him. No, I need to pick it up. I need to pick it up so that I can carry it. I got to go and do it in my own strength. God is too slow. He ain't, he ain't working fast enough for some of these people. Let me read some of these. Karen says, preach it, sis. Keisha, thank you. DG says they love secularizing gospel music to fit their desire to be a part of the world. I wonder, do people really know that they used to do this, that popular gospel hymns that actually did give slaves hope, and enslaved Africans, that gave them hope to get them over. They traded that though. Now we're going to remix it with the world, and then we're going to try to walk in that, and hopefully that'll get us to freedom and liberty. But it won't. It never does, and it did not. Have a look around, people. Take a look around. Do it. Does it look like if the civil rights movement and all of that and the social gospel, if that was the key, then why do we have what we have today? Why do we see what we have today? Apostasy is about lies. Where are the lies? Did you not hear me? I just said one of the major lies was taking gospel hymns and flipping them with this social gospel rhetoric. You don't think that's manipulative and lying and deceitful? It's you know what, you don't understand the power of music, the power of repetition. I'm a songwriter. I'm an artist. I've been an art my whole life. I've been a singer my whole life. Used to sing professionally. Still do from time to time. We say we call when we write the hook. It's the most important part of the song. Why is it the most important part of the song? Because you want people to get hooked to singing it, so it gets hooked into their mind and they keep on singing it. Therefore, they keep wanting to play it. And when you have, I mean, this goes outside of music. Anything that you put on repetition, it's going to stick with you. Music makes that process in your mind much easier. It's melodic. You ever notice you can be like singing a song? It could be even a song that you don't even like. You could be singing a song, it's kind of playing in your head in the background, and then you catch yourself singing it. You're like unconsciously singing it. That's how powerful music is. So that it's a extremely sophisticated lie. Not only is it a lie, but it is a sophisticated lie at that. Uh-oh. He gonna learn today. I didn't come to play today. I'm spicy Megan today, okay? Uh-oh. Yvette says, yes, freedom from sin. Yes, that's the liberty that we desire. We know we're going to suffer here. The Bible tells us to pick up our cross. The Bible is the only holy book that is straight up and down, straight up front with what it costs. You got to pick up your own cross. This is not going to be easy. God doesn't promise us that. He doesn't promise us easy. He doesn't promise it, but he does promise you life everlasting. He says this life is but a vapor. So don't get weary in your well-doing here, for you shall reap if you don't faint. So you don't give up. You don't, you keep going. But that is what the hope is to get to everlasting life. Not saying that you can't have great things here, you can't experience a piece, a slice, of heaven here for your personal life. God can absolutely bless you with a long life, a healthy life, a prosperous life, all of those things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, but the fullness, oh, that comes in everlasting. That's everlasting life. Yeah, Rut Row says, I like the black church though. It does spice up the Christian multiverse. Like God said, the church needs a little flavor. Listen, I love some gospel, some gospel music, like some of the styles of gospel music. I'm not talking about style. Listen, as a singer, as an artist myself, I've played around with different styles. You sing different, I do different things. I sing different ways with my voice. I have sang opera style songs. I remember when I was in high school, I sang this French song. I sang a French uh sort of, it wasn't opera, but it was, Lord, me and my hair, me and this, I don't know. We gonna get it together though. But um, you sing different, you can have different styles. I'm talking about what's at the core, the meaning of what they're saying, the heart in which they're singing in. The social gospel is not that. It's it's another gospel. You want a scripture, Brennanly, brotherly? There's one. It's another gospel. Were the ones who enslaved them apostates? Boy, y'all cannot live your life without worrying about what white people were doing, are doing, were doing. I mean, obviously, if they, and I've said this many times, if you are, excuse me, if you are talking about white Christian, church, or or you're using the Bible to keep people in bondage. Yeah, just like a cult, just like um, what was that man? Who was the man that was going around? He was like Big Daddy, I don't know, whatever. He had some cult, some America, and he was a black guy. That's like anything that presents itself as a gospel, but it teaches another doctrine is an apostate church. Like this is not difficult. It's not just it's any church, brotherly, any church. Good gracious. Joe, nobody. Keisha, what's on your stove top tonight? Well, since you asked, I made some. It was a, nothing. It's kind of one of my go-to meals. Just some stewed chicken wings, some rice, and some steamed broccoli. I might have oversteamed it just a smidget. I'm not gonna lie, might just a little bit, but you know, they eating. That's what counts. Let's see. Megan says to brotherly, do you believe in the Bible, or are you just using it to try and get your agenda out? Because you have a very weird interpretation of the verses you bring up than they actually have. Mm-mm-mm. Brotherly says, I have to prove it's another gospel. What would it take to show you to prove to you that that it is another gospel? Just curious. Just curious, DT says, welcome to anyone just joining us. Hit that like button as you walk through the door, share the video, subscribe, and consider becoming a member of the channel. Yes, please do. Please do. Please do. Hit that link and come on up. Thank you, Duke. Big Daddy Grace, House of Prayer Cult. Yes. Boy. Boy, stop. Boy, get out of here. Don't play with me, boy. Don't play with me, boy. The Trinity is apostasy. Are you a Hebrew Israelite? You're a Hebrew Israelite, aren't you? You're a Hebrew Israelite. Exactly, Karen. Boy, bye. Boy. Ah. Rutrose says, actually, she is preaching exactly what the word is saying. She is being very fair. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The Trinity, boy. The Trinity is a different gospel. Are you a Hebrew Israelite? Boy, people want to be oppressed. Oh man, they want to be oppressed so bad. Oppress me. I should do like a parody song. I should write a parody song, from a Black Christian perspective. Oppress me, oppress me, oppress me, oppress me. I want you to oppress me. I'll get down on my knee so you can oppress me. Woo! Oppress me, oppress me, oppress me, oppress me. I want you, oppress me, oppress me. I'll get down on my knees if you will oppress me. Hey, okay. But that's what y'all want. You want to be oppressed. Wow, like you're a Christian. You're not a Christian. You're not a Christian. Okay, Carmen, praise the true and living God. You're not a Christian, brethrenly. Here's why you're not a Christian. Because you don't believe in the Trinity. Who do you think Jesus is? You know what? I ain't even finna. If you got to click that link, I'm not even finna do this with you. You got to click the link. Anyway, we're moving on. The social gospel. Hi, Kay on TikTok. No, I am not Catholic. I am not Catholic. I am Protestant. I'm a more than denomination. I'm a blood-bought believer. Christ died for my sins. Thank you, Jesus. Look, I don't care what, as long as it's biblical, as long as it's straight Bible. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Listen, you can come up here and you can click the link and talk here. Political social gospel has focus on skin color first and foremost. That's it. It's political. That's why the whole thing is political. it started from, let me show y'all this. I meant to show y'all this a while ago, but I forgot. we never got to it. Man, hold on. Mm-mm. Let's see. Hold on, I want to show you all. So this here. Exactly, DD. He wants you to respond to whatever hits his head. He's all over the map. He can't say, exactly. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. I am not your little running around here trying to chase every, psychotic thought that run through your mind. Like, please. I'm oppressed. Jesus is not, I don't believe in the Trinity. Maybe that's why you experience oppression. You don't believe in the Trinity. Maybe that's why. One God, three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He exists in family. That's why we have family. Relationship. That's why we have relationship. Order. That's why we have order. All of that wrapped up in the Trinity. So much in the Trinity. Like how you get family without the Trinity. Like this is weird. Y'all be thinking, and you're not even making logical statements. You're not reading your Bible. Some things God says he will reveal to us, but you gotta you gotta try and understand. And if what you don't understand, here's the amazing thing about the God that we serve. He answers back. He says, I will give you wisdom and give it to you liberally, freely. So ask him. But if you're not even praying to the right God, I don't even know what God who are you asking? Who are you praying to? You better ask the true and living God. Thank you so much, Yvette, for the $5 super chat. She says, if the cross is an apostasy, he must not be a follower of Christ, because if he were, he would know the message of the cross is the power of salvation. Yes, it is. Had it not been for, see, you got to understand. Let me preach for a minute. If you don't understand the cross, if you don't understand why Jesus came, you don't even have the right theology to repent. If you don't understand that he died for you, because that was your penalty for your sin, your wickedness. If you don't understand the cross and everything that was in that event, that monumental, life-changing event, then you won't even understand repentance. You won't understand forgiveness. You won't understand the message of the entire Bible. If you miss the cross, you miss the whole thing. Because in Genesis, that was the start. Those rebellions was why we needed Jesus. I mean, you got to understand that so you can understand the whole thing. Oh, good gracious. Catholics and Orthodox people who want to act like they are the final authority, they're going to find out they're not. They're the heretics. A lot of them do have heresy. I wouldn't say apostate, but I would say heresy for sure. Some of them are straight apostates too. Brother Lee says the black church got its apostasy from the white church. If it's anyway, I'm not even good. Oh gosh. Hey, Willie Doc says blessings, Keisha and chat. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, DT always preoccupied with whatever the white church is doing. What the white church is doing, what the white people are doing, what, it's insane. It truly is insane. Did I show? Okay, well, let me slow down. Okay, so here we have the okay, so this was in 1920. This was actually on my birthday. Did I show y'all this? I don't think I showed y'all this. Did we ever go over this? I don't think so. But this was on my birthday. The Negro Question in America, speech at the Second World Congress of the Communist International, Moscow. This is in Moscow. July 25th, my birthday, 1920. Obviously, I wasn't born. Oh, gosh. Let's see. Hold on a second. He believes Black people have a monopoly on oppression, Karen. The kind of mindset can't be saved by ordinary people. It will take God himself to penetrate and correct the ignorance. Seriously. And you have to have a blessed. All right, brotherly. You're about to get blocked in a second. Okay. Like quit with all you're all over the place and you're not even on topic. You're about like calm down. All right, the Negro Question in America. So this is by John Reed. John Reed was I think he was a journalist, and he went over to Moscow, and he's like talking about everything, all this stuff that's going on. And the Industrial Revolution is happening and all these things. And so this was what he wrote. This was the speech at the Second World Congress of the Communist International, first published by Publishing House of the Communist International in 1921, reprinted reprinted anyway, whatever. In America, there live 10 million Negroes who are concentrated mainly in the South. Now, this is a white man. This is a white man, so this should be satisfactory for all the people, for all of you who just absolutely love who love to keep up with what they're doing. Hold on, I done messed something up. Oh boy. Jeez. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll keep it over here. We'll just do it like this. Lord. Okay. In America, there live 10 million Negroes who are concentrated mainly in the South. In recent years, however, many thousands of them have moved to the North. The Negroes in the North are employed in industry, while in the South, the majority are farm laborers or small farmers. The position of the Negroes is terrible, particularly in the southern states. Paragraph 16 of the Constitution of the United States grants the Negroes full civil rights. So I want you to understand what is happening here. This is an American talking to the communists about the state of Negroes in America and what, they're formulating a plan here. This is in the 20s. For all of you who are like, the civil rights movement was not, it was all upright, and it was not communist, and it was not, it's just the social gospel, just social gospeling. This man these are his words to a foreign adversary about Americans, okay? Nevertheless, most southern states deny the Negroes these rights. Did I skip? The position of the Negroes is terrible, particularly in the southern states. Paragraph 16 of the Constitution of the United States grants the Negroes full civil rights. Nevertheless, most southern states deny the Negroes these rights. In other states whereby law the Negro possess the right to vote, they are killed if they dare to exercise this right. Negroes are not allowed to travel in the same railway carriages as whites, visit the same saloons and restaurants, or live in the same districts. There exist special and worse schools for Negroes, and similarly special churches. This separation of Negroes is called the Jim Crow system, and the clergy in the southern churches preach about paradise on the Jim Crow system. Negroes are used as unskilled workers in industry. Now we know this is a lie, because a lot of them had skills, a lot of skills. Until recently, they were excluded from most of the unions that belonged to the American Federation of Labor. The IWW, of course, organized the Negroes. The old Socialist Party, however, undertook no serious attempt to organize them. So, as you can see, they are he's creating this image, this picture that these Negroes, they need your help. They cannot figure out how to do stuff on their own. Now, this is a white man talking to white communists, okay? For all of you who want to know what the white people was doing, they were setting you up. This is what they were doing. Since you so worried, you're not going to do anything about it, because you want to be on their oppression plan. You still want to be on the plan of oppression, the plantation of oppression. So, let's see. In some states, the Negroes were not accepted into the party at all. In others, they were separated off into special sections. And in general, the party statutes ban the use of party resources for propaganda among Negroes. In the South, the Negro has no rights at all and does not enjoy the protection of the law. Usually, one can kill Negroes without being punished. One terrible white institution is the lynching of Negroes. This happens in the following manner. The Negro is covered with oil and strung up on a telegraph pole. The whole of the town, men and women and children, run up to watch the show and take home a piece of the clothing or skin of the Negro they have tortured to death as a souvenir. Now, this was not widespread. I know he's trying to make it seem like this is all what was happening every time there was, not saying that, not apologizing for lynching at all, just trying to give a fuller context of what actually happened. This was not the whole taking souvenirs and doing all that. It just wasn't as, no pun intended, black and white as this is trying to paint. I have too little time to explain the historical background of the Negro question in the United States. The descendants of the slave population who were liberated during the Civil War, when politically and economically they were still completely underdeveloped, were later given full political rights in order to unleash a better class struggle in the South, which was intended to hold up Southern capitalism until the capitalists in the North were able to bring together all the country's resources into their own possession. Oh gosh, so much there. Until recently, the Negroes did not show any aggressive class consciousness at all. The first awakening of the Negroes took place after the Spanish American War, in which the Black troops had fought with extraordinary courage and from which they returned with the feeling that as men they were equal to white troops. Until then, the only movement that existed among the Negroes was a semi philanthropic educational association led by Booker T. Washington and supported by the white capitalists. Now, you see what they're saying here. Now, they are trying to paint Booker T. Washington with this lens of that he's on the side of the capitalist. You know, he's not really on the side of the quote unquote working class, and drawing this narrative that all of the accomplishments that these Black people are doing, that's not, you know, it's, they're painting that as a negative, in a negative light. Because if Black people are actually succeeding and they are getting educated and they're making something of themselves, why do they need the Communist Socialist Party? They wouldn't. So they're trying to make Booker T. Washington and the success of those people, we're going to tie them to capitalists, and that's automatically bad. It's just like today, where they say, oh, you're a Republican, you're automatically bad. Same schemes. Oh, you're a conservative and you're Black, gas, automatically bad. You know, you have an opinion that's outside of what the political Black person says, you're automatically bad. It paints a narrative. Let's see. Uh-oh. What's his name? Must have gotten in trouble. Megan says, Keisha, that's the biggest problem, that they tried to make everything black and white, thinking patterns, and the world exists in gray. I got you. I got you, Megs. So they're painting Booker T. Washington and the success of Black people as a negative. Let's see. This movement found its expression in the organization of schools in which the Negroes were brought up to be good servants of industry. They are trying to paint working and being, you know, Chateau Jackson talks about this a lot, casting down your, well, Booker T. Washington said it, but he talks about how that's his philosophy was casting down your bucket right where you are, a biblical philosophy that aligned with the Bible. As intellectual nourishment, they were presented with the good advice to resign themselves to the fate of an oppressed people. Again, this dude is saying that, you know, the progress that Black Americans had made, and, you know, under a philosophy of the Bible, and like men like Booker T. Washington, that you're starting to get a little too uppity. You're starting to provide for yourself a little bit too much. You're relying on yourself. You're accepting your oppression. You making a way for yourself and your family is accepting the oppression. Exactly, Megan. That's like bigotry of low expect. That's exactly right. Exactly right. During the Spanish War, an aggressive reform movement arose among the Negroes, which demanded social and political equality with the whites. With the beginning of the European War, 500,000 Negroes who had joined the U.S. Army were sent to France, where they were billeted with French troop detachments and suddenly made discovery that they were treated as equals socially and in every other aspect. Notice they never talk about the treatment, of you being able to own your own property. What about equal treatment in owning your own property, owning your own business? Notice they never promote, opportunity for owning your own business and those kind of things. It's always only social opportunity. Oh, be nice to me, treat me nice. You don't own anything. You can't make your own decisions. You got to rely on the government. You got to rely on someone else. You are totally dependent on the government. But hey, you said nice things to me, even though really you're scheming and plotting on my downfall, as the young people say. Oh, good gracious. Lord have mercy. The American general's staff approached the French high command and asked them to forbid Negroes to visit places used by whites and to treat them as second class people. After the war, the Negroes, many of whom had received medals for bravery in the English and French governments, returned to their southern villages where they were subjected to lynch law because they dared to wear their uniforms and their decorations on the street. At the same time, a strong movement arose among the Negroes who had stayed behind. Thousands of them moved to the north, began to work in the war industries, and came into contact with the surging current of the labor movement. Now, if you know anything about this period of time, and the communists, they had already and were infiltrating these labor movements. That's why this man is telling the Communist Party he's making the connections. Let's see. High as they were, their wage rates trailed behind the incredible increases in the prices of most important necessities. Moreover, the Negroes were outraged by the way all their strength was sucked out and the terrible exertions demanded by the work, much more than were the white workers who had grown used to the terrible exploitation in the course of many years. So you mean to tell me these former slaves or these or people who had come out of slavery, former slaves, some of them, many of them, they were not used to hard working conditions? Is that what they're trying to tell us now? Okay. All right. Okay. The Negroes went on a strike alongside white workers and quickly joined the industrial proletariat. Would you look at that? Look at that class struggle. Look at what is really up under the concern. Oh, the concern for the Negro. Is it really, though? They proved very ready to accept a revolutionary propaganda. Do you see that? They proved very ready to accept a revolutionary propaganda, meaning your mind had been primed. The seeds had been planted. The rhetorical devices were, had been spread across the land. And they were primed and ready to accept revolutionary propaganda, meaning so these people who were ready for this, the Holy Spirit had been quenched. Because now I can now I have so seeded the ground. You're primed now that I can feed you this revolutionary propaganda and you'll accept it. At that time, the newspaper, hi Ryan, hello. Good to see you. At that time, the newspaper Messenger was founded, published by a young Negro, the socialist A. Philip Randolph. Do y'all remember you A. Philip Randolph, one of Martin Luther King's like people? Uh-huh. Yeah. And so he founded a whole newspaper. Look at this. A black man in America had a whole newspaper. Who out of everything that we just read by John Reed, it's a wonder that this man could have. How did he manage to found a paper in America? It's astonishing. And pursuing revolutionary propagandist aims, this paper united socialist propaganda with an appeal to the racial consciousness of the Negroes and with the call to organize self-defense against the brutal attacks of whites. Does this sound, excuse me, does this sound like a Christian movement to you? Like does this sound organic? This man is in a whole nother country. But we love to think that the civil rights movement and all these were organic. This we're reading the setup. This is on my birthday, July 25th, 1920. Yes, please hit the like button. At the time, the paper insisted on the closest links with the white workers, regardless of the fact that the latter often took part in Negro baiting. Wow. Whew. Megan says, according to the racists, it's a miracle they can even read. Okay. That's again bigotry of low expectations, right? It was I like to delve into this stuff. What? July 25th. What's so funny about that? That's my birthday. What? What's so funny? Anyway, I lost my thought. DG says, how on earth did Thurgood Marshall get appointed to the Supreme Court with all this helplessness? Exactly. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I'm not saying that there weren't issues, that that Black people had in America. Obviously there were, but it was this article, this speech starts off with him admitting that there were 10 million Negroes at the time. 10 million. Out of the 10 million, 4,000 of them were lynched. 4,000. That's like a 0.00000. It was a tiny, I'm not trying to say that these things didn't happen, but you have to understand history. You got to expand your mind when you're looking at these things. It's not like that this was happening broad scale. Black people were just oppressed everywhere they go, and white people hopping out of trees and they clobbering you. It wasn't like that. it wasn't. Yes, bad things were happening, but this is a huge, massive country. Okay, you got to realize, you gotta read these things from the time of what was happening then. Just like when we read the Bible, we're supposed to read the Bible through the eyes of a first century Jew, so you can really understand it. If you try to read the Bible through a lens now, a modern lens, it's not going to make any sense. Just like Brethren Lee's like, the word Trinity is not in the Bible. Yeah, duh. It's a way for us to explain, a modern way for us to explain the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We just call it the Trinity. the triune God. That's how we, it's a way, just like the scrolls didn't have numbers and verses, but it is a modern way for us to understand reference points so we can read along. Like stop being, learn how to read in context, full context. Anyway, back to what I was saying. At the same time, the paper insisted on the closest. Wait, let me back up because I didn't really understand this. This paper united socialist propaganda with an appeal to the racial consciousness of the Negroes and with the call to organize self-defense against the brutal attacks of whites. At the same time, the paper insisted on the closest links with the white workers, regardless of the fact that the latter often took part in Negro baiting. Oh, so they were baiting the Negro and emphasized that the enmity between the white and black races was supported by the capitalists in their own interests. Man, they are structuring they're getting their blueprint together. The return of the army from the front threw many millions of white workers onto the labor market all at once. The result was unemployment, and the demobilized soldiers' impatience took such threatening proportions that the employers were forced to tell the soldiers that their jobs had been taken by Negroes in order thus to incite the whites to massacre the Negroes. That is a very bad way to describe that history. The first of these outbreaks took place in Washington, where civil servants from the administration returning from the war found their jobs occupied by Negroes. The civil servants were in the main Southerners. They organized a night attack on the Negro district in order to terrorize the Negroes into giving up their jobs. To everybody's amazement, the Negroes came onto the streets fully armed. Fully armed. A fight developed, and the Negroes fought so well that for every dead Negro, there were 3 dead whites. Another revolt, which lasted several days and left many dead on both sides, broke out a few months later in Chicago. Later, still a massacre took place in Omaha, and all these fights in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, it's like that is like the last place you think about Black people being. In all these fights, the Negroes showed for the first time in history that they are armed and splendidly organized and are not at all afraid of the whites. Blessed. The results of the Negroids' resistance were first of all a belated intervention by the government, and secondly, the acceptance of Negroes into the unions of the American Federation of Labor. Racial consciousness grew among the Negroes themselves. At present, there is among the Negroes a section which preaches. Here we go. This is where we're what we were waiting for. That preaches the armed uprising of the Negroes against whites. The Negroes who return home from the war have set up associations everywhere for self-defense and to fight against the white supporters of lynch law. The circulation of the messenger is growing constantly. At present, it sells 180,000 copies monthly. At the same time, the socialist ideas have taken root and are spreading rapidly among the Negroes employed in industry. If we consider the Negroes as an enslaved and oppressed people, brethrenly, and everybody who loves to be oppressed, then they pose us with 2 tasks. On the one hand, a strong racial movement, and on the other, a strong proletarian workers movement whose class consciousness is quickly growing. The Negroes do not pose the demand of national independence. a move a movement that aims for a separate national existence, like for instance the Back to Africa movement that could be observed a few years ago, is never successful among the Negroes. They hold themselves above all to be Americans. Would you look at that? They feel at home in the United States. Would you look at that? Now now what now they are, do you see that it should at least, this article, this speech should at the very least make you question the narratives, because on one hand he's saying, oh, the blacks are being beat up, they're being brutalized, they can't work, they can't find no job, they can't. But on the other hand, they're like, they're going to school, they're getting educated, they're leaning into the capitalist system. They actually hold themselves above all to be Americans. They feel at home in the United States. Now, it should make you wonder, now, why would a group, if they are being so brutalized and all of these things are happening, why do they feel at home in the United States? It should at least make you question. At least pose the question. How is he selling us both things at the same time? Your antenna should go up. Something don't seem right. At the very least, okay? Right. Yeah, it wasn't what they it is it is black slaves, blacks, negroes, all the things. It is, and whites and all of that, and all these things. It is a very nuanced conversation, okay? That simplifies the task of the communists considerably. We ain't even got to work that hard. The only correct policy for the American communists towards the Negro is to regard them above all as workers. We're going to just put y'all all in one big blob of a group. Black. The agricultural workers and the small farmers of the South pose, despite the backwardness of the Negroes. Boy, it's like praise and shame, praise and shame. The agricultural workers and the small farmers of the South pose, despite the backwardness of the Negroes, the same task as those we have in respect to the white rural proletariat. Communist propaganda can be carried out among the Negroes who are employed as industrial workers in the North. In both parts of the country, we must strive to organize Negroes in the same unions as whites. This is the best and quickest way to root out racial prejudice and awaken class solidarity. The communists must not stand aloof from the Negro movement, which demands their social and political equality, and at the moment, at a time of the rapid growth of racial consciousness, is spreading rapidly among Negroes. The communists must use this movement to expose the lie of bourgeoisie equality and emphasize the necessity of the social revolution, which will not only liberate all workers from servitude, but is also the only way to free the enslaved Negro people. So, as you can see, what they have presented to America, Black Americans, of this, organic, we shall overcome, and we're just going to tear down the system and get the white man out of here. That was not a plan from Black people. From the slave, it didn't even originate in America. Like, it didn't even originate from the slaves, from the people. It was given to them. The social gospel is given to you. It is not it's not the gospel. It is given to you by man. It is something that man created. Satan created. DT says those who hold on to oppression are a disgrace to the memory of those who overcame it. Right? um let's see. I love Kristen Beyond Live. I told she has to do a collab soon about this topic with her and others that are talking about this. Um, let's see. Karen says, sadly, I have some family that believe the lies of Satan, that they are oppressed. Me too. Me too. By those, Megan says, by those statistics, they had a better chance of getting attacked by a shark than they did of being lynched. If it was 10 million and only 4,000 had that occur. Yeah. Yeah. That it's like the whole white cops are killing black men. It's like the amount of that's happening, it's such a tiny percent, not enough for you to run around here thinking every time you see a cop you're something bad is going to happen to you. Let's see. DG says seeing yourself perpetually oppressed gives you a perpetual crutch to never improve your conditions, because after all, it's always somebody else's fault for your imagined plight. And that's the goal of the propaganda. Because see, if they can make up if they can feed you a narrative and you bite, and they can reel you in with that thing, the more you believe the lie of the propagandist, the more you believe the lie, the more you get blinded from the actual truth, that you are not what they say you are. But how the mind works, how the brain works, is that if you start to rehearse something, if you start to let these things take root in your soul, it grows and it attaches itself to you, and you can't see it. You can't see life properly. It's diabolical. Let's see. I'm missing y'all's conversation. I don't know what y'all are talking about. DT says they felt at home in the U.S. because they understood their own history and contribution to this country. Yes, amen. And they saw the opportunities that they had. Like, people act like black people were not traveling. Do y'all not understand? Like, in the 20s, this was the Industrial Revolution. Yes, it was a hard time because things were changing. We were coming out of the agricultural era and going into the what do you call that thing? We're coming out of agriculture and going into the industrial era. So yeah, it was difficult because people, change is always difficult. It just is. But um that that showed black people that things could get better. There was jazz music that was coming around. There was, all of the entertainment. There were black people were moving up. Let me see. uh what was it? Madam CJ Walker, she when did she make her first? Madam CJ Walker was the first um self-made female, or was she was she the first female millionaire? Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. First female self-made millionaire. Yeah. Um, so and Madam C.J. Walker was born in 1867 and she died in 1919. She died. She had made her millions before that article. This dude even wrote the speech, made the speech. So like they're trying to sell you a narrative about blacks that just doesn't the fact the history and the facts are just it doesn't bear out the way that they try to make it sound. Let's see. 49 Jubilee says with socialist why socialist fists? It's apostate. Jamal Bryant. Oh yeah. That's where I got the idea from. He's an apostate. Yep. Black Democrats forgot that 3 white men didn't come to the continent. I don't. Keisha, please join ARP sometimes. I do. I've been on there a few times. Yeah, I do. I need to hit them up. Hit him up. Megan says, "You're right. Oh my goodness, I just okay, y'all talking about something else." uh, Black Democrats forgot that 3 white men didn't come to the continent of Africa and begin slavery. It was Africans. Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, Megan says, what's also diabolical is this Hawaii heat. Oh my gosh, I am melting, girl. Listen. So Monday when I was live, my AC went out and I'm in Florida. Okay. Zone play. Like, oh baby, it was and I'm in perimenopause. Listen, not today, Satan. Let's see. Okay, all right. So I just wanted to read that to you guys because we got some really exciting things like happening, things that I'm working on, interviews, not interviews, discussions slash debates that will be coming up with some people that you probably have seen. So you probably know, and we're not in agreement, but your girl's working on some things behind the scenes to really bring some attention to this matter. Y'all know how I feel about this. I really want some questions answered. Like, we need to understand, what do y'all mean when you say black? What are you talking about? Because if we can define that, then we can understand from my point of view, once you really define this stuff, the whole thing falls apart. The whole narrative falls apart. So, we really have to look through these things with a proper lens. I want to show you guys this. Mm, ah. Oh gosh, this, you know, Hold on, y'all. I wanted to show you guys this this piece of Chad's um documentary, but I can't figure out how to log into my thing. Mm. Hold on. Let me try to. Let's see. Yes, y'all hit that like button. Hi, Paul. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. Jackson. I'm trying to. Oh, wait. Hold on, you guys. I gotta. Ooh. Let's see. Okay. All right. Dang it. I don't know how to. I don't know how. I don't know how to find my stuff. Anyway, we won't be able to do it because but I will play. We'll look at this. Hold on, you guys. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Hang in there. Sorry, y'all. $80 degrees. Now? Whew. Gracious. Thank you guys. You know what? I promise y'all. So I figured out why I have trouble finding my stuff because I will save something. I will save something on one, like on Instagram, but I think I'm saving it on YouTube, and then I be forgetting. I forget. Um, but I wanted to show you. Oh wait, Paul says keep Keisha, the so-called pastor who said George Floyd should be buried in Arlington Cemetery like the rest of the heroes is Reverend Ray Sistman. Oh my gosh. That is insanity. But so that is crazy. So remember the guy we talked about, Jamar Tisby, and we talked about the guy who was saying that racial in order to here let me just play it for you.
In favor of white people. And so when you take race into
in order that the Negro,
you cannot take race into account when you draw congressional districts. That's racist, which is dumb. And I'll say it to your face, John Roberts. It's stupid. It's foolish. And you know it, because districts in the United States have historically taken race into account in favor of white people. And so when you take race into account to equalize things and to even out things, that is not racism. That is offering a racial corrective to a racial wrong, and you know it. All six of y'all know it. Come debate me. I have history. I've been black my whole life, and I got a brain. It ain't complicated. You don't deserve the name justice. You're not worthy of it. Take it back.
So
you cannot take race into account when you draw congressional districts.
So his logic is that since racial, according to him, I don't even know if this is true, but he says since lines were drawn racially before, then the way to correct these racially drawn lines is not to stop the racist drawing of the lines, but it's to draw more racist lines. In order for us to have, since blacks were kept out of a certain institution or institutions, in order for us to have justice, we have to now be put in different institutions. We're not going to open it up to everybody. No, you're going to put us there over other people. You see what I'm saying? Like, the whole narrative, one of the ways that we know that what they're preaching is not a biblical ethic, it is not righteous, it is not a biblical worldview, it is not truly a church, because Brethren was like, how is the black church apostate? These are the kinds of things I'm talking about with this guy, Jamar Tisby. Does that sound like justice to you? Does that sound like biblical justice? I'm gonna do to you what you did to me. Is that biblical justice? Is that justice how God wants us to practice justice? No, it is not. Yeah. What that guy said in the clip is a logical fallacy. That is what it is called. It is also a false dichotomy on a premise or a straw man argument, all of the above. DT says, can you imagine calling yourself a man when you do this much whining? SMH. That's what my husband said. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Except when they do it. And see, that's the thing. That's why everybody's always like, what do white people do? They don't function from a biblical worldview. They're not functioning from logic, reason, the logos. They're not functioning from that. They're functioning from a demonic premise. Sorry, but that's what it is. If you are twisting the gospel up this much, you are not operating from a biblical worldview. If you're going to say I'm going to do to you what you did to me. That is not a biblical worldview. Like, why do we accept that? Phantom, hello, says it is not even that. It is doing something to someone that you heard their ancestors may have done. Okay, that too. It's crazy. But these are the this is what they offer as a gospel. This is what they offer as a as a solution. Exactly. Collective punishment. Exactly. That's exactly right. Goodness gracious. Let's see. I'm going to show you guys this also. So, boy, these people. So this was, I don't know if you guys remember, but May 26th. Was it? No. Was it May 26th? Yes, so the march that they had to to for voting rights. Look at this. Look at these people. You see what I'm saying? They are taking Christian traditions. This is all of the performance of the Christian traditions, the singing, the coming together, all this stuff is to draw you in emotionally. It makes the what they're really actually doing and saying, that becomes kind of cloudy because I'm drawing you in with all this performative other stuff. POV, you went back to Selma to protest the Voting Rights Act being gutted. Okay. As you say, protect the vote. It's just ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this. SNCC, that's SNCC. Student Nonviolent, We Shall Overcome. Confront Coronating Committee. You see that? Oh, but Martin Luther King, they weren't communists. They weren't, this is his legacy. Look at this lady's scarf, Congo, Dim Rep. Look at her scarf. These people hate America. But this is supposed to be an American march for people who are concerned about their rights being, their voting rights, that being taken away. It is a con job. It's about us. I thought it was about Christ. But no, it's really about you. That's how you know this is not the gospel. Once again, Lord have mercy. Half of them people in there probably half of them people in there probably do not.
I'm tired of the Democrats.
Do not. They don't. Actually, they don't like practice a biblical anything. They don't go to church. They don't. They just do the performance when the cameras are there. Hi, Brandy. Hello, hello, hello. You seen that? Phantom got a Congo flag. These people's ancestors sold us to the white man, okay? You see what I'm saying? Like, it is not what you think. Nobody's taking away our voting rights, but AOC is going to pull up in the red states. Yeah. All right. It's like, girl. Okay, girl. Thanks, Brandy. Thank you. Thank you. But, oh, this should be interesting. Black belt. Remember in the article that we read by John Reed on my birthday, he was talking about, this black belt, they wanted blacks to literally make a state for themselves. They wanted, all that foolishness. But this YouTube channel that I just found, this is Black Belt News Network. And hold on, let me see. Okay, so this is supposed to be representative of what Black people want.
A lot more. We didn't have any presidents or vice presidents here. That's LaTosha Brown, and she is magnanimous. She is with Black Voters Matter, amazing organization. They were sponsors of the Jubilee this year, which I don't think they've ever done that before, which is very cool. And Jesse Jackson. He's usually, last year he was Joseph Jackson, that is Jesse Jackson's son. And he was here, got a key for the city from Johnny
Moss about these, and he said that again,
Oh,
Friday night
never
there was a
mind.
shooting on Alabama Avenue. 6 people were shot, and luckily no life-threatening
Oh
injuries.
my God.
Nobody died. Then a second shooting.
Okay. I don't want to hear about that. Man, it's just a constant playing on your emotions, a constant, keeping you agitated. But that's a part of the communists. That's a part of what they do. Man, it really sucks. And what's really bad about it is that you have all of these people who are working overtime and behind the scenes to push these things, and you have the useful idiots who just believe whatever they say. And so, I mean, nothing ever truly gets resolved. You just go round and round and round in their circles, playing their games. And it definitely is very unfortunate. Let's see. I had pulled some other clips.
We're seeing in the news cycle happening to political leaders, and what we're seeing in the news cycle happening as it relates to political leaders and the use of race. It is a more difficult time than when we initially started this type of work, which I think probably surprises people. There is a myth, and it's a very Western myth, of inevitable progress. It's an assumption that as time goes on, that people get more reasonable, they get wiser, they get kinder, that somehow racism is primitive. And as time goes forward, those primitive ideas would fall away. And that's not quite how it works, because racism is so deeply tied to economic advantage end to identity for people. It actually requires consistent effort. You think about the words of Coretta Scott King. She's often quoted, we now paraphrase that, every generation is going to have to fight for issues of justice.
Every generation. You ain't never gonna get no break. Okay? Every generation, you're gonna have to fight for this stuff. It's never supposed to end. Never. That's not freedom. How is that freedom that I gotta fight for some God, for some for an antichrist system for the rest of my life? That's not a fight worth fighting. Not as a Christian. Phantom 96 says we should ship them to the Congo. One-way tickets. Man, they would be swimming the ocean themselves to get back to America. DG says white liberals have always been the true problem because they are the ones who taught Black people all of this nonsense, because all of their superior and qualified to guide, because because after all they are superior and qualified to guide the inferior, right? They're the supremacists. They're white supremacists. Craziness.
I believe that there are pastors and there are influencers that are on the payroll of right wing. I guess white is right too. Right wing organizations that are trafficking, this trash and mess into our community, making us hate our own institutions and things that have helped to uphold democracy, that have helped us get to the polls and to vote and to exercise our democratic rights to vote. So I don't understand it. It grieves me. It really does grieve me. And that self-hatred and that internalized white supremacy also fuels the gender wars.
Oh my
within our community as well.
That's a part of the institutional breakdown, because you break down the institution of relationships and one specifically is marriage. But yeah,
yes.
for sure.
So I just we got to leave that behind.
Now,
we got to leave that behind and pick up love, pick for one another, pick up love for self, and truly see ourselves as beautifully and fearfully, wonderfully made in the image of God, So that's what I said we got to leave behind.
So according to these women, in order for you to truly love yourself and have self-respect and truly identify as being made in the image of God, you got to be on the Black train, because if not, you are a self-hater. Okay, if you don't believe how they want you to believe, you cannot just actually be following the word of God and just, they want to charge it to your heart. They want to say your heart is something is wrong with your heart. You don't just have a different opinion. Something is wrong with your heart. You need to work on your compassion. You don't love yourself. You one of them self-hating Negroes, ain't you? You can't just not think like them. No, they got to go and, diagnose your heart posture, because they think they can do this with all people. Oh, you're white? You're the oppressor. I can see your heart. Oh, you're black? Yeah, you're oppressed because I know the heart. Oh, you think differently and you're Black? Oh, yeah, you hate yourself. You're a coon, you know all the things. Megan says, so what I just heard is race hustlers are also part of what's pushing the ideology, like trans and stuff. That's what I heard, LOL. I know that's not what they said, but that's what I heard, okay? Because that's what they're saying. Paul says police. It has nothing to do with the fact that blacks killing each other and acting like fools, but it's the Republicans. Exactly. Miss me with that and check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay. And Gigi says it's these mammies who keep the Democrats in office, perpetual bedwitches for the Democrat plantation. Exactly, Paul. NDT. You know, it's honestly, I'm not even the type to go around like, oh, you hate yourself, you know, just constantly saying that. But I think those people do hate themselves. I really do. Let's see. I had quite a few. I don't even know which one. I don't even remember.
You understand that those who supposed to be Christians voted for someone who has 34 felonies? Don't you know those who are supposed to be Christians are voted for someone who believes in separating families and children and deporting people to countries where they've never been in their life? Don't you know those who are supposed to be Christians voted for someone who cuts programs for the poor while giving tax breaks to the wealthy? Don't you know that those who are supposed to be Christians are voted for someone who demonizes immigrants when he himself is married to an immigrant? Those who are supposed to be Christians are voted for someone who is rolling back health protections, and for those who are vulnerable, those who are supposed to be Christians voted for someone who shows no concerns for the least of these. Those who are supposed to be Christians voted for someone who labeled Africa as an S-hole. Those who are supposed to be Christians voted for someone who brags about grabbing women in an inappropriate way. I want you to know that's not Christianity. That's the devil. That's who it is. And beloved, there comes a point in our lives when we've got to speak truth to power. That's not Christianity.
You ever notice their Christianity is always social in nature? It's never actually, like I said in the beginning, it's never actually loving your neighbor like your actual neighbor. When they quote the Matthew, 25, loving your neighbor and caring for the least of these, they don't really mean your actual neighbor. They mean the neighbor in DC. They want you to go and protest and march for that neighbor. They don't want nothing. They don't want you to have anything to do with your actual neighbor who might need you in your own community. That's not what they're talking about. Notice the people that they're always trying to get you to advocate for. It's never the people that's actually right around you. They don't even tell you to go and advocate for people right in your own home. They tell you to go and advocate for people that are somewhere else that you don't even know. They tell you to harm those close to you, because if you uphold the nuclear family and pro-life, they don't want nothing to do with that. That's not really caring for the least of these, doing what you're supposed to do as a believer. No, that's not really doing what you're supposed to do. I just got joined by my good friend, Mr. Teach 'em Chuck Littleton. How are you, sir?
What's up?
I was actually just about to jump off, but did you happen to see any of those clips, those last clips?
Yeah.
What's up with that? I know we've been talking about this. You see this appeal of trying to point out someone's biblical character, but it's never actually, like your neighbor or your family, but it's always to go march and protest like away from your community. You got to go and fight in DC for, your actual neighbor. What's that about?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, what they're saying is that, they expect the government to provide individuals um, with their daily, with the what how do they say it I think it's a biblical reference when you talk about daily bread and the provisions, right?
Yeah.
Your provisions. They expect the government to provide you with your provisions from cradle to grave, and this is what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is statism, posing as some kind of Christian love or brotherhood or charity. You know.
Remember the life of Julia? Do you remember the Barack Obama's The Life of Julia?
Uh-huh.
That's what this reminds me of.
Mhm.
Because if you guys remember, Barack Obama's The Life of Julia was he described this woman who was literally on the state until the day she died.
Right.
She was single. I think she ended up having like a child, but she was on the state her whole entire life. There was no promotion of getting married. There was no promotion of taking care of yourself, being dependent and or independent and caring for yourself. No, it was all about you being on the government teat forever. What
Right.
kind of that's not freedom. That's bondage. That's
Mhm.
not liberty.
Right. Well, somebody has to punish the ne'er do wells. Someone has to punish the exploiters. You see, these people, they don't understand how hard and how difficult it is, and what so many brave individuals had to sacrifice in order to get us here. And I don't mean that strictly in a war or military sense. But I mean, the likes of people to whom many of us criticize on both sides of the political spectrum. Say, for example, someone like a John D. Rockefeller, right, who founded Standard Oil,
Mm-hmm.
and many of the quote unquote monopolists or robber barons, as they called them. Uh, it was a bit of that was considered an epithet for the rich and the wealthy
Mm-hmm.
during the early decades of the industrial age. Um, when in fact these men weren't the villains that history painted them out to be. I'm sorry, they just weren't.
Mm.
Uh, and they went about the business of trying to. When I say they, I mean the government, as you can recall, when I recited a portion of Theodore Roosevelt's new nationalism philosophy about how he believed that there should be a counterbalance to this growing industrial class from the federal government, so as to make sure that things were fair and operating on the up and up. You know, and so these people, they don't know how economics works. They don't understand that how many individuals who take the risks associated with starting a business, how many of them fail. How many individuals who may have found some modicum of success for a time end up not too long after they found that success going out of business. They don't understand how small or slim of a profit margin many of these businesses operate with, because
Mm-hmm.
there's this fantasy that the people to whom you see when you stare at them from across a room, figuratively speaking, or across town, or you see these images projected on your television of the rich and the wealthy. um, a lot of people think that, for example, the person who employs you is hiding something from you, that they're sitting on all of this wealth and all of this cash that that you can't get, that you don't have access to,
Mm-hmm.
because to simply walk upon someone and pull a gun out and put the muzzle to their head and tell them to give up the goods. You can't do that.
Right.
But you can ask the government to do that on your behalf. What I'm saying, so long as you agree to pay them an administrative or clerical fee. to do the thievery for you.
Mm.
So that's where this belief comes from. You know, these
Mm-hmm.
people think that where it is possible for there to be, um, uh, you know, this nirvana or this utopia. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
They believe it's possible. You know, it's interesting. You played the one clip from the one lady, and she said that. And you know, one thing conservatives have to, I think, do better with is knowing and understanding and recognizing um, not so much what the left gets right, but understanding that there are times where they do raise concerns or point out issues that are facts of life. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is they have horrible prescriptions
Right.
to solve those problems, because she
Mm.
makes the point. She says that there was this belief that eventually, for example, you know, certain evils like racism would go away over time. And in some
Right.
respects, she's right,
Mm-hmm.
because that was somewhat one of the major promises of the Enlightenment was the idea of progress. That's where we get it from. And so, conservatives find themselves in a very tight spot. I was listening to Andrew Clavin recently, and in my humble opinion, Andrew Clavin is one of the top 5 conservative thinkers in the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, I mean, very, very sound. Just a great mind
Yeah.
and a great thinker. And he made a point to say that, you know, when conservatives want to conserve, of course, the our founding principles, our founding ideas, but in the minds of many people, those founding ideas were forged in revolution. You know, even though that isn't entirely true,
Mm-hmm.
because the principles of our founding didn't begin with our founders. They just wanted to be treated as English citizens. It was a continuation of the English speaking tradition. It wasn't a desecration of it. And
Mm.
this is where uh, one of the marked differences between the American Revolution and the French Revolution. It wasn't a continuation, it wasn't a destruction of the English speaking tradition, it was a continuation of it. But the problem that conservatives have is that oftentimes the left is allowed to win the argument, and they're allowed to drive the narrative because of that fact. Because in the mind of the left, they say, well, wait a minute, our country was founded in revolution. So who are you to say, considering the fact that we still have all of these problems as they see it, that it's, you know, now is the time for society to put its foot on the brake. It's like, no,
Mm.
we need to, we need to continue because we did a great thing, right? Let you tell it, this is will be someone on the left speaking to one of us. So, well, you claim that the our country was a great idea, and you love our principles, our values, and so who's to say that if we do not continue in the spirit of revolution, that we can't eventually make it better? And while we conservatives are in a constant reactionary position because we're going, wait a minute, we have a good thing, and all you all are doing is breaking things. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to really focus in on what we stand for, what's important to us, and realize that yes, there is nothing wrong with change, but we must change in keeping with our core values and our core principles, because there are certain things that are transcendent in a phrase somewhat beyond the veil,
Yes.
beyond the veil of the material world. And so that's where the inspiration, of course, must come from. It must come from something objective. You can't just simply, like I told you in private, Keisha, earlier today when we were speaking, I said the problem is these people, they throw out these open-ended phrases without really, and they know they know what they want, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. The only thing that they know is that perhaps we could get there if people like you and I would simply get out of their way.
Right. It's like what was the show when they used to take off the at the end?
Scooby
Scooby
Doo.
Doo, yeah. Just like we would have had him if it
Yeah,
wasn't for those
yeah,
pesky, true Bible believing Christians.
exactly, exactly. And
DT says socialism on its face is anti-Christian because it's covetous.
exactly.
Absolutely. That's and that's the thing. It's like like you were saying earlier, like the fruit from the rotten tree. It's never going to bear. If I start a movement with the hopes that I can plot and scheme to steal your stuff, even slavery, even labor, if I'm plotting and scheming to steal your labor, your work, what you produce with your hands,
Yeah.
everything from that is going to be rotten. It doesn't
Right.
matter. You can't, like some people say, you can't put sugar on
That's right.
sugar honey iced tea. Know what I'm saying? So,
What,
that's
what,
just the thing. It's like the Bible is true.
right.
You will know, you not only will you know people by their fruit, you will know movements by its fruit. You will know churches by their fruit. You will know organizations by their fruit. Like this is one of those principles that transcends, it goes beyond, just it's an objective fact.
Right.
It's just an objective fact.
Well, see, and I forgot who made. I don't know if that was DT or Paul with that comment, or somebody else. I can't remember who made the comment about it being covetous. But what you have with Marxism, and this is what Marx promoted. And oddly enough, this was. I go back to something I said last time when I was on the show. This was Abraham Lincoln's belief.
Mm.
They had something, and I guess some economists were of this position, and maybe perhaps some economists are still of this position, because we have a lot of economists that are simply ideological and not scientific at all. But they harbored an idea called labor value theory, which is that value stems from labor, and labor exclusively. And in order for the capitalist to continue to exploit, they have to develop what is called a labor surplus, or labor value surplus. In other words, because of the fine tuning, if you will, of the ways in which we bring commodities to market, the division of labor became so highly specialized by Karl Marx's time. Karl Marx was dismayed at the fact that human beings no longer produce things for their own use. Okay, this was the concept, meaning that, and I think I've kind of gave a brief overview of this before, and this is what Marx meant when he talked about workers being alienated. And this is a common theme that you hear amongst within leftist literature, is this idea and concept of alienation. But what they mean in an economic sense is that you work for a wage so that you can go out and purchase things. But the thing that you produce with your own labor is actually sold at market at an elevated price, so as to create labor value surplus, so that capitalists can pay back their creditors. And so, in other words, it gets a little bit. I mean, again, these aren't necessarily simple things to just grasp immediately upon initial read. But this is the idea that Marx would say, well, this was the inherent injustice of it all, because the thing that is actually of value that you produce with your own labor, you cannot use, and so you are alienated from your own creation and giving a wage in exchange, which in Marx's mind was demeaning to the creator of that thing, which was the labor class, the laboring classes themselves. And so, in other words, though the folks who own the means of production, they're the ones who are actually stealing, right? Not the person that owns the business. They're just kind of like again the figurehead on top, mind you. Marx and Engels, they both inject themselves into a process, if you will, of I hate to explain it this way, but I guess sort of like economic ebbs and flows, or economic evolution. And in so doing, they don't quite explain how the property owning class becomes what they are. explain how they got this way. How do you grow to own the means of production? What does that even mean? And so now
Mm.
you fast forward in today's day and age, not just to today's day and age. This has been the truth in the United States for several decades. We have various ways by which one can amass generational wealth, right, and do all the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Capital is a specific type of property where one can use it for the purpose of generating more wealth that they can then use on that very same business in order for it to grow, and perhaps maybe not that business but other businesses as well. The most
Mm-hmm.
common and simple example that comes to mind first and foremost is the great Silicon Valley. I think it started on the West Coast innovators who came up with the idea of Uber and things like that.
Yeah.
What is the other ride share competitor?
Lift.
Uber, Lyft, and these services. I mean, if you have your own vehicle, if you have your own vehicle, then you can generate income, for yourself, and so your property in the form of your vehicle is a means by which you can produce. And so uh, the super chat for that song. Oh, he gave you, yeah. I heard the song earlier.
Thank you, honey. I love you so much. Well, but just really quick, let me just shout out my amazing husband.
You got to do
Thank
that.
you, honey, for the $10 super chat. Oh, and by the way, y'all remember when I thought that Antonio had sent 2 super chats by accident last time. I was laughing. I was like, yeah, I'm keeping them. He was like, oh yeah, I want my money back.
Sound just
I
like
was
me.
like, actually, it was only one.
Just like me. Sound just like me, and sound just like my wife. Look at me like I'm crazy. Like, how you gonna ask me your
Exactly.
money back and we
You can
married?
forget it. If it would have been 2, you can forget that.
Right, right. But just to end my point, I mean, like, there are all sorts of ways where a person can generate wealth and find ways to, whether you go and work a job where you earn a wage, and then, for example, you can go to your local hardware store, buy a bunch of landscaping equipment,
Mm-hmm.
start a landscaping service, and start, cutting grass or doing something like that. I mean, there's so many people with landscaping businesses that are successful, and the market is so vast because people always need their lawns manicured. It's something that will never cease to be a market for landscapers. And
Right.
so these are the kinds of things, because you cannot foresee the future. You just don't know what human beings are going to create and what new markets are going to come into existence. What person out there in the world has the I guess the foresight to know of something that you're going to need in the future that you yourself wasn't even aware of. No one even thought that they would even need a smartphone, for example, 30, 40 years ago. It would have been unheard of. And so
Right.
markets get created, and they come and go. So Marx had a very, very simplistic way of looking at economics, but that's simply because Marx, of course, his thoughts and ideas and philosophies were a lot deeper than economics, but he harped on economics a lot, and by conventional wisdom it would seem like Marxism is an economic theory, because when Marx pulled the meaning out from underneath man by his attack on traditional or conventional spirituality, he had to come up with another rationale to explain human motivation.
Mm.
This is where the doctrine of materialism comes in, because he said, well, if men aren't motivated by something, by deeper meaning, right, trying to find a deeper meaning in life, right, what are we here for, and why are we here, and what is my purpose? He settled in on his materialist philosophy that, well, man is first and foremost obsessed with material comfort, right, so as to kind of stave off death for as long as he or she possibly can, and to make life as comfortable as he or she possibly can while doing so. And so therefore everything became about the division of labor, and how we provide food and safety and shelter for one another.
You know that you're right. It is a faux sophistication of, just understanding basic human behavior, because when you think about the labor and the man that wants to go to work, maybe he's making rockets, I don't know, whatever. No, he doesn't own a rocket at the end of the day, but he gets to take a portion of that and then go and provide. It's like that. They make it seem like your work life is your only life. Like it's a very, like, you totally forget that I'm going to take this money and go feed my family. Like, why? What's wrong with that? And why is that? I'm going to take what I earn and I can save my money. I can, I can do all kinds of things with it if I want to. And if I'm really talented with money, I can make money grow for me. I can do all kinds of things. And it's like, it's just a very narrow, why? Because it's not biblical. It's you're starting from the enemy's, you're starting from his finite, you're starting from something that can't go. It's something that is dead.
Well,
You're not starting from a position of life. You're starting from a position of death.
well, sometimes it just starts out with the simple fact that, I mean, sometimes everything doesn't necessarily need to be explained. I think that Thomas Sowell used the term unarticulated rationality
Mm,
in his book Conflict Divisions. I think it was Conflict Divisions, or maybe
yeah,
Visions
I think
of
that's
the
right.
Anointed. And he said that, I mean, what he means in a word is wisdom. Sometimes when you're not so much whether something can work better. Sometimes human beings would do themselves a favor by simply leaving well enough alone, because everything doesn't have to be explained, because there's nothing wrong with conventional wisdom just for its
Hmm.
own sake. It's interesting because, Thomas Sowell would both voice these opinions in his work. The great, the father of modern conservative thought, Edmund Burke, would speak about this and would write about this, philosophize about this, and not too many people heeded his words, because Edmund Burke was warning people that the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, and then subsequently, of course, the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, he saw trouble on the horizon. And he said that we are rushing too quickly to rid ourselves of our traditions. In fact, it is our traditions that in the long run will save us from the excesses of a tyrant.
Mm,
He saw it, and interestingly enough, even Friedrich Nietzsche, he saw it,
mm,
and he warned about it. Friedrich Nietzsche, when people say that, Friedrich Nietzsche's his famous quote of "God is dead," it wasn't
hmm.
it wasn't something that he necessarily celebrated. He was almost
That's right.
he was
That's right. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was saying that, well, maybe, yeah, maybe it was inevitable, but guess what? Now it's time for mankind to step up to the plate, because if there is no God, then guess what? Man has to take his place. And he was saying that this is not going to be good, because we are not suited. We are not suited, and we are not ready, you know. Um
Exactly.
so
I'm
what
gonna
do
I'm
you
gonna be wrapping up. So I don't want us to get into another topic.
yeah, yeah,
But if you want to go ahead and
end
just
it up.
round out that thought.
Yeah. Yeah, just like you said though, that's what I want to round out with, is piggybacking on your last thought about, you just never know, like, what you can do, and what you can achieve. And it's these people who want to
You will when you believe.
believe, you know there
Sorry, I had to.
that there are some things that we do in favor of other things, or as opposed to other things. And I guess I'll end with another quote from Thomas Sowell. He has so many gems, and he was talking about in one of his works about the difference between uh, uh, merit and productivity. Okay. He said that we reward productivity over merit. And I know that's probably, what do you mean? I thought merit is the thing that we're going for, the thing that we're looking for. Well, now you got, you have to contextualize it, based on what Soul was saying. He was saying that merit from the standpoint of how the left typically views merit. In other words, who's more deserving. This is how they can justify attempting to play the role of God, essentially by implementing or attempting to implement their version of what Dr. Thomas Sowell refers to as cosmic justice. Okay,
Mhm.
playing with things or operating from a limited position in terms of their knowledge, but still trying to act as though they know all. And so when he says merit, they try to jigger the system so as to give opportunities for people who don't deserve it, simply because they believe that they are capable of doing whatever said thing may be, had it not been for oppression
Mm.
and discrimination. Now, discrimination can be a factor as to why a person, or a group for that matter, doesn't succeed on par with some other group, but it's not the only explanation. To the
Right.
extent that that explanation is even valid at all.
Right. Exactly.
Even though, if you say, for example, take blacks and say, well, we want to give blacks a boost, right? All this talk about DEI and all this other stuff. We want to give blacks a boost because of historical injustice. They deserve it. Well, we can't do that. We reward you for your productivity. If there are no black surgeons, if there are no female pilots, if there are no, I mean, you just pick whatever industry, right? If there are no, short 5'4" Asians in the NBA, whatever the case may be, you don't talk about that. But
Yeah.
whatever it may be, you let the chips fall where they may, and you reward those who produce. And the reason being, as Thomas Sowell said it simply, but he said it this way: simply put, we reward productivity over merit because it's the only thing we know how to do. It's that simple.
It's the only thing we know how to do.
How to do. We don't know how to reward people for things that they haven't earned based upon the fact that we think
They can do it.
can do
Or
it.
they should be in a place, or they should be you have a desire for them to do XYZ, but they have no desire for it themselves.
Right.
So
Or no
yeah,
motive
I mean,
for discrimination or something of that nature. So that's it. But you're about to wrap up, Keisha. I just want to come holler at you. There's a lot
yeah,
more. I guess I was really, really pumped to try to chime in when you were reading from John Reed's speech before the convention in
that's
Moscow.
what I was hoping you was coming.
I was trying, but I wanted to chime in more on that and provide some more context and more detail, but
Yeah,
didn't get around to it. But sorry about that. But again,
all
maybe
good.
maybe next time. But
Yeah, all good.
there's a whole
No,
lot.
thanks for coming on though, and giving us what you did. It was much appreciated as always. Chuck is a great teaching brother. So thank you for coming on. All right, see you.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys. All right, we are wrapping it up. That song, it made me think of, they don't always happen when you ask. And it's easy to give in to your fears. All right, I don't want to get copyright strike. All right, you guys. So thank you so much for watching. As always, we will be back on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all be tuning in. I got some stuff cooking in the works for you, so we can shed light to this topic. No takers tonight, but it was okay because today was kind of a little bit of a crazy day for me anyway. Just trying to I got a bunch of moving parts going on right now, but anyway, I will see you guys. I did put out a few videos, so if you haven't seen them, go click on them. Make sure, please go and hype the video. Y'all's hyping the video really helped. So after the live, please go and hype it, and then also just go to the page and like if you haven't liked it, and hype those videos at Gosh, I can't even talk. Also, yes, Megan. Yeah, it was a chill stream tonight. It was yeah, we was low key tonight. But I'm glad you guys are here. Y'all have no idea. When when I see you guys pop up in the chat, it really does the encouragement, the support, it really does bless me, and it encourages me to keep going. So I really appreciate you guys being here. As we grow, I see God doing amazing things with this, and it's like y'all started with me. It's like started from the bottom, now we here. When we get there, where more people hear about this, and they are challenging us, because it's not only that I challenge, or we are challenging, this Black church. I don't have a problem being challenged. I enjoy being challenged. Being challenged is how I is how the Lord brought me out of idolatry, race worship anyway. So it really it is not just for us to challenge it, but for us to be challenged as well, so that we can all grow. Even though we're already right on this particular topic, it doesn't mean that we can't be stretched and grow and learn even more. So thank you guys for being here. I will see you. Oh, wait, what's going on with little Noah? What's happening? What I saw? Oh, thank you, Paul. Lovely voice, Keisha. Thank you so much. Carmen says, "Sang, Keisha. Thank you. Y'all so sweet. Don't hang me up." Let's see. Is Noah 8? Oh, today is Noah's 8th month. He's 8. Okay, well, we gotta sing for Noah. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, sweet little Noah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Noah. Listen, I already know you're a good little baby. I know you're a good little baby. But if you could do your TT Keisha a favor and get a toy and just like play it loud, just bang on the toy. Just drive your parents, just drive them nuts just a little bit for TT. You know what I'm saying? I love to encourage the kids to make noise and do all the fun things, especially when they're in somebody else's house. I love you guys. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Oh, look, thanks, chat fam. He raises his hands to God. It's too cute. My kids taught him that. That is so sweet. I love that. Okay. All right, you guys, I love you for watching. Thanks for being here Friday at 8. We'll be back. See you later. Bye-bye.